tonight's show. You can connect with Take Two Radio on Twitter at Take Two Radio and at Dawn Take Two Radio. You can also look us up on Facebook at Take Two Radio. Check out our website at taketworadio.com and follow us on Blog Talk so you can stay up to the minute of each episode as we add it. Each episode is always available for download immediately following each broadcast, and you can also download every podcast on iTunes. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Take Two Radio. It is Tuesday night, and glad to have everyone here with us. I am Dawn, the co-host, and I'm going to be kind of commanding the chair again tonight because Pam is still ailing a week plus later. She is with us, but she is not feeling very well at all, but we have to give her credit for being a real trooper, and I just want to say hello to you, Pam.
Hi. Thanks for doing this again.
No problem. Tonight we have a special guest that I am so excited about, and I know Soap fans are excited about because this gentleman has been on, All My Children, Another World, Guiding Light, and The Young and the Restless. I mean, he is just phenomenal, and I came to know and love him on Guiding Light many years ago, and just fell in love with his character there, Gus Arturo. So without further ado, I want to see if he's calling in. I think he may be, but we have with us tonight Ricky-Paull-Goldin.
Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. I'm right here.
Sorry to leave you holding there. We were getting ready to start the show. There was no way to pick up the call until after all the gibberish got out of the way. So, but thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Well, you have been very, very busy of late, and I want to first congratulate you because you have a brand new show that's going to be kicking off pretty soon. I think, February 15th. Brand new show on HGTV called Spontaneous Construction, and talk a little bit about that.
Of course. Well, first of all, HGTV has always been one of my favorite networks, and I'm not just saying that for because I'm over there now, but it's also I think it's the same for a lot of my friends. It's just a network full of ideas, and it actually gives you a lot of hope. It's a lot of new families that are starting up or making their family bigger or extending their family or what have you. And it just I've always loved it. And I love real estate, and so for me it's like watching real estate porn. It's just you can't turn it off, and I was always a huge fan. So I am lucky to be joining that family and getting to do something that I have always loved.
I must tell you, it is a great network, and I'm a fan of many of the shows on there. So I would rather sit down and watch that, and some of the other network channels along those lines than I would any other TV except daytime, of course. But yeah, I mean, they've got some great shows. I was so excited to learn that you were going to be having a show on there. I thought, wow, what a win-win for you and HGTV.
Well, thank you. And the way that it came about was just one of these Hollywood stories that they just don't happen. And they came to do a show. There's another show that was called My Favorite Place, which was this show on HGTV. It's under a new name now. It's like, I don't know, some sort of celebrity home show, which, I'm not necessarily, I definitely not wanting to come off like you're bragging, but that's what it is. It's some sort of a celebrity home show. And they came to do our house in L.A. to cover the house because I had an old farmhouse in California, in Pacific Palisades, and I did my thing with the house, and they came through, and I ended up bringing them on a tour of the house. And, what I do, which is a lot of repurposing, so I would point to the dining room table, and I'm like, that used to be a door, and I built a base, and this big mirror here was a pile of junk at a flea market for $100, and it turns out the frame was 150 years old, and I put it back together, and I painted it gunmetal. With that painting on the wall right there, I was lucky enough to be on vacation in France, and down the beach was this beautiful, in my mind, picture of all these multicolored umbrellas and cool teak chairs, and I I sent a picture on my phone to one of my friends in L.A. that was a starving, broke painter, and for the cost of $50 in canvas, I got home and he made this beautiful painting. So I've always been one to say, if you've got a lot of talented friends, put them to work, and pay them a couple of bucks, and you'll have some of the best stuff you ever had, and great memories and great conversation pieces. So that's how it started. I did this piece for HGTV on one of their shows, and then I got a call 3 weeks later talking to me about doing a show with them, for them, my own show. When they found out that I'm the type since I'm 16, besides being an actor, I did design, and I started when I was 16 years old. So can you imagine how happy I was? It's like, are you kidding? You're gonna get your own show and design, and it's what I do. I've always helped my friends design their places and stuff like that.
Wow. I mean, that is almost like there's, could it have fallen into your lap any closer? I mean, really, it's like it just fell out of the sky. And by the way, I would love to see your house, because I'm sure it's just it's got so much history in it with the pieces you described, and just I'm sure it's immaculate and just beautifully crafted throughout.
Well, thanks. Well, I've always done that. When I was 16 years old, my mom, to make money, my parents were divorced and we were poor, and my mom her job was, one of the things she took on was to sort of general contract for rich folk. And so they, when you've got a plumber coming, you've got the electrician coming, and you've got the carpenter coming, and et cetera, she'd be the person that would organize all of that. And I would watch her do this, and then I'd watch her sort of guide them on these big, expensive projects. And that's kind of where I learned. My mother was also big on telling me I should learn a craft in case this acting thing doesn't work out. And so she made me put on a tool belt, and I'd go to work with these guys, and they'd give me a couple of bucks, and I'd make mistakes, and that's how I learned. And over the summers, I would do stuff like roofing, which was a horrible job, or being an apprentice to a carpenter, that kind of thing. And that's how I got sort of bitten by the bug. And finally, my mom was redoing our house when I was 16 and a half, 17 years old. And when the contractor guy said, what do you want done? She said, well, Ricky, you tell him what you want done. And so she let me go to town with the guy. And, of course, I put on a tool belt and worked that summer, too. She showed me, the trust that and that's basically how that began. Then as a starving actor, moving out to L.A., I would do jobs, but this is such a crazy career, such a crazy business. You need to do other things to make an income, and I didn't really want to bartend or waiter and busboy like everybody else, which I also did. But what I did instead was I would rent an apartment out. I'd make a deal with the landlord that I could sublet it out as long as he screened the people, and I would then go to swap meets, flea markets, tag sales, whatever. I would decorate the entire apartment that I had just rented out. I'd put a pool table in there. I'd buy it for $100 and put new felt on it. I'd decorate all of that, and then I'd re-rent the apartment out for double, and I would do this all over town, to be able to have money to support my habit of acting. So that just led to other things, like getting apartments and flipping the apartments, which turned into flipping an apartment building. And then when I got bored with that, I started flipping boats, and then the boats would turn into yachts. And so, all of my friends knew that side of me, but a lot of sort of the extended friends and family, and fans, I should say, that I always call fans, friends and family. Fans didn't know that part of me, but it's been very much a part of my DNA from the beginning.
Wow. I mean, very, very ingenious, by the way. I mean, because not only have you had a tremendous career in acting, but, you have this other career that has been probably as successful. And by the way, I just am curious, what does your mom think about the acting thing, considering it did work out okay?
Well, we come from a long show business family, so she would never, she's like any mom. She's proud, of course, I'm sure. But, I was never any kind of big shot in my mother's eyes. And it's like the opposite. She just slapped me down if I ever got too big for my britches, which everybody needs. And, anybody would need that in this career, in this job. And so she's just like, that's par for the course. You're not going to get celebrated over here because you got a job. I mean, that's what we do here. You know, my father before me was an internationally world-known hypnotist, and my mother traveled the world with him before I was born, all over the world, booking theaters and selling tickets. And, you know, he was an entertainer, a hypnotist that entertained. And my dad's brother, my Uncle Jack, big movie producer in London, like The Guns of Navarone, The Medusa Touch, The Merchant of Venice, big stuff. So we were expected to do, you know, well in this business. So that was my mother was more interested in me learning how to solder two pipes together to be a plumber in case I had, you know, I needed something to fall back on. She's like, you know, you save somebody's house as a plumber, you're going to make a fortune. You need to do that. I'm like, what's the matter? You don't believe in me? You know, it's like, no, I'm just saying. So, you know.
I mean, you know, four soap operas later, a ton of television. You know, I mean, it's I think you've kind of proven that you definitely can have what it takes to act. And by the way, I just want to, you know, when you mentioned that your dad was a hypnotist, I'm thinking to myself, you know, all the daytime women fans of daytime out there are going, okay, so now we get why he was such a, you know, we swooned over him on all these different soap operas, you know, the whole hypnotizing effect. But I'm just joking with you about that.
Well, I don't know about that, and I don't know about how, you know, how. And I've been lucky too. A lot of it is luck. It really is, and the willingness to take chances once you have that luck. You know, meaning the different shows that I've done. I've been very lucky, and that is a huge part of it, because there's a lot of talented people out there that don't get an opportunity. So I've got to always be thankful for the opportunities that I've gotten and that I've been given, and not for nothing, but Spontaneous Construction. That's the new show. This has given me an opportunity to rest my brain from all of the dialogue and all of the. I mean, I still maintain that daytime is one of the hardest gigs going, period, end of story, full stop, when it comes to acting. And also they're a very humble group for the most part, the actors that are, you know, your daytime stars, your soap opera stars. They work so hard, so they don't really, I just find most of my friends, you know, 99% of our lot, we're very humble, good, loving people, hard-working. Sort of, I used to call us I call myself the working stiffs of showbiz, you know. So I'm so grateful that this particular genre that I'm doing now, which is a huge part of who I am, it's giving me a rest from that side of my brain, and I get to do this, which is equally as creative for me. You know, you hear about Brad Pitts of the world going down and designing houses, and, you know, after Katrina. And actually, he's a big designer, and I just thought his name popped into my brain, and he loves all of that. And a lot of people, Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston, I mean, it's just another creative outlet. And that's what Spontaneous Construction does for me. And I also enjoy the challenge of hosting, because you can't hide behind a character. You are either a likable sod or you're not. You know, I'm going to say this about Ryan. One of my favorite hosts is Ryan Seacrest. You know, because no matter, you know, Ryan Seacrest is $1 billion man now, but I'll tell you what, when somebody comes screaming out of the room in American Idol, picks him up and throws him around, he's still a beautiful guy. He's still humble. He still can joke about himself. He's a very likable human being. I think you can tell that about him, and I think that makes him such a great host. So it's a challenge for me in the hosting world, something that I've always loved doing, because you cannot hide behind a character. You are you, which is a scary